Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Robin Akampora, and I am in Yale's Office of Career Strategy. I work on the Common Good and Creative Careers team. So essentially, I work with students who are interested in the areas that Common Good and Creative Careers covers. So we have government, we have education, we have nonprofit, we also have the arts, communications. So if students at Yale are interested in those areas, you can certainly come see a CGCC advisor. But today is about this exciting program. I want to thank Tyler Jett, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, economic research analyst. Is that the correct title? Okay. Correct. Thanks to LinkedIn, right? So thank you so much, Tyler and friends, for joining us. I know that this is going to be an information session for the U.S. Department of Treasury, specifically Office of International Affairs Junior Fellowship Program. So I know students are really interested in hearing more about this, and I will now turn things over to Tyler. I should mention that the Q&A is open for questions. So in this webinar format, feel free to put your questions in there, and we will wait until the end to answer them. Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you so much for everyone for joining. Again, my name is Tyler Jett. I'll just going to provide you guys with a quick overview of the Junior Fellows Program and the recruitment process for 2022. So on the agenda, we'll start off by telling you who and what the Office of International Affairs at Treasury is. Then we'll jump into talking about the Junior Fellows Program, followed by any questions at the end. And you can ask your questions again via the chat function throughout the presentation, which we will answer at the end of this presentation. So International Affairs' mission is to protect and support U.S. economic prosperity by strengthening the external environment, so the international realm, for U.S. growth, preventing and mitigating global financial instability, as well as managing key global challenges. So as an overview, IA is based in the main Treasury building in Washington, D.C. It's right across from the White House. We're a relatively small team of around 250 staff members made up of international economists and policymakers who cover a wide range of issues. The extended IA network also includes staff representing the U.S. at various multilateral organizations, technical advisors to foreign governments, and financial attachés who serve as Treasury's representatives at U.S. embassies around the world.
Salma, could you go to the next slide? Oh, sorry, this is the next slide. So as Tyler just said, the range of issues that Treasury encompasses is really, really wide. And so for that, we have half a dozen different offices that cover everything from digital assets, crypto, to regional offices that look really deeply at what's happening in the economies around the world. So you'll have functional offices that will handle things like technical assistance, trade policy, climate issues, and then you'll have regional offices, which Tyler and I are in, covering basically every single region in the world. And then there's another division in IA, but there are no junior fellows in that one, and that is the Center for the CFIUS, the Investment Security Division. This is very high level, and so we're going to jump into what each of us as junior fellows does, and so hopefully you'll get a better sense of what we're doing in a day-to-day. I'm sorry. So some of those things that we do is we are constantly researching what's happening around the world in different portfolios of countries. So we're doing economic analysis, we're doing data analysis, we're looking at financial conditions, we are keeping track of what's happening at the IMF and the World Bank, and then we're translating this research into memos and presentations, and sometimes just a plain email for principals, going all the way up to the secretary. We're also developing Treasury policy, which means that sometimes there's a policy question that's coming up, generally due to something happening in the world, and we need to determine what Treasury's response is going to be. And so we might support that process through research, through representing Treasury in interagency meetings with the State Department or with USAID or with the Department of Energy. And then the final aspect of what we do is we engage in diplomacy. for example, we represent the Ministry of Finance in the US, and then we're constantly engaging with the ministries of finance around the world, but also different ministries all around the world. And we are always in the room when we're having these diplomatic engagements, and we are the face of the Ministry of Finance in the US. And now we're going to turn to what each of the junior fellows does. Morgan isn't here yet, so let's move on.
I am here.
Oh, never mind.
Sorry, I had to join late. I have had some computer problems, so I'm on my phone. I'm not sure if you're able to see me.
Yes.
But yeah, so quickly I can run through sort of what my role has been. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Morgan, and I am in the Office of Trade Policy and Investment, specifically working on trade finance issues in the climate space. So right now, trade finance is predominantly going towards fossil fuels and carbon intensive industries. And we've been working to redirect that towards clean technologies and developing industries in the clean space. So as part of my work, I have been leading these negotiations at the OECD to try and redirect those financial flows, which has involved some really cool opportunities for travel. The photo I've put on my slide is from Paris this June, where I was able to sit at the table to negotiate these climate proposals. And I'll be next week in Brussels and back to Paris in November. So I think one of the coolest parts of the Junior Fellow program has been the travel opportunities. And of course that varies from office to office, but I think quite a few Junior Fellows do have the opportunity to travel. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on that in the Q&A portion.
I guess I'm next. Hi, my name is Samba. I work in our Office of Development Results and Accountability, and we review multilateral development bank loans and budget support operations and country strategy frameworks to assess their effectiveness, and also check for social and environmental safeguards, make sure that we do no harm and the projects do no harm, and we're not financing any projects that will contribute to harm. And then we have a congressionally mandated set list of mandates that we have to review these projects against as well, that dictate how we vote on the board at each of these banks, how we vote on their boards. So my office reads all of these. I contribute to that, and I focus mostly on the World Bank and IDB, but we have coverage of all of the banks where we hold a seat at the board. And I will pass it over to Tyler, I believe was next.
Hi, everyone. So again, my name is Tyler Jett. I work in the Office of East Asia. I cover China climate policy, human rights issues, as well as the Pacific Islands. As part of my work, Treasury each year twice a year puts out what we call the FX report, which is the foreign exchange of major trading partners of the United States. It's a congressionally mandated analysis of our foreign exchange with our major trading partners such as China, India, Taiwan, Korea, so on and so forth. But this is a major part of what I do on the day-to-day basis, as well as interact with a lot of the international financial institutions, as Samba mentioned, such as the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and the IMF, to really put together the United States policies, and again, as Tara mentioned, at these executive boards at each of the financial institutions.
And you were just traveling.
And I was also just traveling. So one of the perks with covering the Pacific Islands is you get to go to Fiji if you're lucky enough. So I was just in Fiji, Australia, and New Zealand, and we were pushing the issues, or really advocating for the issues of debt dynamics in the Pacific Islands, as well as what is called correspondent banking relationships, and there's been a steady decline in the region since then. So our mission was to advocate how to mitigate the decline and improve the fiscal dynamics of these Pacific Islands.
And then lastly, I'm Tara. I work in the Middle East office, and even though I graduated with a degree in history, my primary job is to research economic issues and energy issues and geopolitical issues in the Middle East in a certain portfolio of countries. And so a lot of my work involves prepping principals for bilateral meetings with diplomats in the region, but also representing Treasury, oftentimes representing Treasury in those very meetings. And then I write memos, I write briefing materials for principals, and I'm also going to be traveling in the region in the fall. Morgan, if you want to take this.
You're muted, Morgan.
I'm so sorry, I've been muted. Yes, I'm going to give a quick overview of the Junior Fellows program specifically, including what opportunities there are after Treasury or after the Junior Fellows program, and then Samba will take a quick discussion of the recruitment process. So the Junior Fellows program provides really outstanding recent college graduates the opportunity to gain hands-on economic policymaking experience. Fellows are hired usually at the GS9 level to work in one of our regional or functional teams, as we've discussed previously, and it's for a 2-year fellowship period. The work you do will vary depending on the office and what Treasury's priorities are at the time. Obviously, that depends on the administration, but it will still fit within the general roles of the regional and functional teams, as we discussed earlier. To give sort of an idea of what past junior fellows have done after the fellowship, many have stayed in public service. I think a lot of us have that ambition. And there is the opportunity, I believe, to stay at Treasury after the Junior Fellow program, as well as to move elsewhere within government. And then others have gone on to the private sector or to pursue graduate studies. All 4 of us are in our 2nd year of the program, so it's at this point that we're trying to think about what we'll be doing after the following year. Personally, I have been looking at graduate school, but there is a range of opportunities, and the fellowship really sets you up well for doing a numerous range of posts afterwards. To go quickly through what makes a good fellow, obviously there's a lot required of us, but I think that this slide sort of lays out the core aspects. When reviewing applicants, we're looking for people who have solid understanding of macroeconomic principles, and you'll have the chance to demonstrate this knowledge throughout the application process, but we are looking for a range of majors and academic backgrounds. You don't have to be, as Tara mentioned, you don't have to be an econ major to apply, and we have regional and political experts, health economists, climate and energy specialists, development economists, and more. We do expect that you have an interest in international affairs, since we're in the international affairs branch of Treasury. That being said, some former fellows have gone on to work on domestic policy issues, and there is some overlap there. But the work you'll do while in IA as a fellow will largely be focused on international policy issues. The next would be, oh, sorry, Samba, if you could go back. Thank you. The next would be strong written communication skills, as a lot of the work we do at Treasury is written. And so we're looking for candidates who can demonstrate in their application a very strong ability to express themselves verbally and to express concepts very clearly and succinctly. And then the capacity to work independently and on teams is important because IA fellows will typically have a portfolio of issues that they focus on specifically, but then there's a lot of coordination that happens between offices within Treasury, between government agencies, and also with international counterparts. So being able to work both independently and on teams is critical. And finally, an interest in public policy and a commitment to public service is important. As we explained, fellows can go on to pursue any number of opportunities after the program is over, but successful applicants will also have at least some professional or academic interest in policy or a career desire for public service. Samba, on to you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for cutting off your slide. I'm going to walk you all through how to apply. The process is fairly straightforward. And as you see it on the screen, you submit your your materials to the IA fellows at treasury.gov email, a cover letter, resume, transcript, and optional letter of recommendations, including you include your desired start date. Unfortunately, you must be a US citizen to work in this position. So that is something to note. And then also you may include your veteran's preference if it's applicable. The timeline is, the recruitment timeline is, I believe, a couple months, starting in October, on October 30th, that's when the applications are due. So all the stuff you saw on the last slide, that's when you have to submit it in, which leaves you all about 2 months or just shy of 2 months. And then once you've submitted your applications, you'll receive 2 short macroeconomic essays. They're, I think 500-word responses that you will resend in to the IA Fellows at treasury.gov email, where they'll be assessed by international economists working at Treasury IA. Once you've been screened through that part, your applications will be sent to the offices that are hiring, where the offices, the deputies and the directors will select the candidates that they want to interview. And that process will happen around November, December. There's no set timeline for each office will vary. And then the conditional offers will come out in December or January. It really does vary based off of office capacity and what's going on at the time. And then after that, people who are people who are given an offer will have to go through this security clearance process, and hopefully that process is not too strenuous. But if it is not, you can start in the summer of 2023. Most fellows come on around July, June, and August. Sometimes it's delayed. I didn't start till October. So it varies in timeline, but that's the general scope of what goes on once you've sent in your application. And so now we'll move on to questions that you guys have for us.
Thank you, Samba. Do you want me to read these? There's some pretty good questions here. Would that be helpful if I read one and then somebody?
Yeah, do you want to batch them like 3 at a two or 3 at a time?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, the first one's pretty straightforward. Where is the Chinese AIIB?
The Chinese AAIB, it is based in Beijing, and they are looking to open potentially another location in a Southeast Asian country.
Okay, perfect. Next one, this is a double question here. Do you need knowledge in areas like sustainability or the specific region you work in, or just a background in policy governance in general? And are you taught the details? I can see why folks are asking this, because when you all describe your areas of work, it's very specific and very impressive, right? So I'm sure that students are wondering, like, how specific do I have to know to start this type of career? So I don't know if there's any thoughts on that one.
Sure, yeah, so I'm sure we could each answer this, kind of do a round robin sort of style. But for me, I majored in international relations, economics, and minored in Chinese. So the Office of East Asia was actually the perfect fit for me. It did definitely help coming in with that prior knowledge and really helped me kind of fast track the stuff I was working on right off the bat. However, it is not necessary, and I'm sure a few of my colleagues have come in through a little bit of a different path where they haven't really had as niche of a focus as I did.
I can go next. There's a really, really huge learning curve. I think when both of us walked in, we had no idea, we didn't know about debt dynamics. We didn't know about, I probably wouldn't have even known about most of the climate vulnerabilities in my countries, and those are really straightforward, water and things like that. And those are things that you learn on the job really, really quickly. And that we're all on, well, at least I am on a team where people are extremely supportive and they have so much knowledge. These are some of the best economists in Washington, D.C., and they are always willing to share their knowledge. And when you onboard onto a team, your boss is going to know you're a junior fellow. That means you just have an undergraduate degree. That means you probably don't have any work experience. And so they're going to guide you and also give you responsibilities gradually. And so you're not going to be required to write the FX report in your first week of the job, and you're going to do everything with a lot of support from your director or your deputy director or the other economists around you.
I can go next because I think I had probably the opposite experience from Tyler. I'm working on sustainability and climate negotiations now, but I had zero background in that, to be honest. I started at Treasury in trade finance, which is a little bit broader, but then basically the way it struck out was that I was handed the climate portfolio. I didn't have any background. So there was definitely a learning curve there, but I think in IA, the way that it's structured is there is a lot of horizontal movement. So there's frequently people moving from one office to the other and starting from scratch. So I don't think it's unusual to not have a very, very niche expertise. A lot of people at IA are sort of have like a wide range of knowledge. And so I felt a little bit underprepared, but definitely there's plenty of expertise in the building I was able to tap into. You are never doing anything alone. You always have oversight and people to ask questions from. So it wasn't an issue that I didn't have any sustainability expertise coming in. And I've been able to learn along the way. So I would not let that stop you from applying to what you're interested in, even if you just sort of have a broader policy background.
I'll go last. Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. My office does a very niche review of these loans, where a lot of the stuff I've learned, I had no idea even existed before I started working here. And so over time, you kind of build up the knowledge of certain policy areas and certain issues that we are keen to. And like all other teams, you have people around you that can support that growth. And there's always someone to ask questions with. I even get to interact with a lot of other junior fellows, Tara and Tyler in particular, because they're in the regional offices. We get to use their expertise whenever we review projects in their countries. And so there's no limit of knowledge in the building. It's just who to ask and what to ask. So that's all.
Great, thank you. Samba, what was your major in college?
Sorry, I studied economics and then I minored in data science and French.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So Tara, lots of questions about your history background. Two questions I'll combine. First, how do you feel your degree in history has helped you in your current role at IA? And then also, does she feel like you had a lot of catching up to do on macroeconomics?
I'm very happy to speak to my history degree. It not only was it was a degree ending in studies. It was Middle Eastern studies. So I say history because I really focused specifically on the history of the Middle East. And it was functionally a history degree. It helps in a couple of different ways. A, history degree requires you to read a ton and write a ton. And that's what we're doing for most of the day, is that we're reading tons of reports, we're reading tons of news, we're reading like 100 page things from the IMF, and then being able to really succinct, like read those pretty quickly and then be able to grasp the most important parts of that is just like one of those tech skills that is kind of hard to learn later on, but that a history degree really helped me with. So it's the reading and the writing. C, I would say, because I studied like a region, I studied the Middle East, having that kind of background whenever I'm working on a new project at work relating, let's say, to Iraq, I'm very fortunate to have a much wider lens because I've studied Iraqi history and I've studied American-Iraqi foreign relations and I've studied like the history of energy investment in Iraq. And that's the kind of background that I think actually very few people at Treasury have and is so valuable to bring in both the way that when I'm writing memos or also when I'm creating policy proposals. I would say though, I minored in statistics and machine learning, and I think having even if you took like 3 stats classes, having some kind of quantitative background was probably helpful in the application process. And although I don't know how they evaluated me in the end, having a background in statistics is though something that I use on a weekly basis.
Thank you. And did you have a lot of catching up on macroeconomics?
Oh, sorry. Yes, tremendous amounts of catching up on macro concepts, but you picked them up pretty quickly. My friend's mom tells me economics is just supply and demand, and with that foundation, you can kind of pick up every single macro framework. And also there are resources, there's so many training resources available in our position and for like all economists. So there's a slush fund for training. So you can take courses at the IMF, you can take courses, like you can take language courses anywhere in DC. And if you wanted to like strengthen your macro principles, you would be able to like take a course in that, and that is either self-paced or like in person.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Tara. This is a question for everyone, and I think that a lot of students are kind of wondering about this, especially as many have done more of the remote internships over the last few years. So wondering about, this particular person is asking about what's it like to live in DC as a young professional. So any thoughts on that, or how that's, any tips for folks who might be looking to move to DC? Definitely be curious about that.
Yeah, I can take that. DC is truly the city for young professionals. If you want to work on your career and really build your career, DC is the place to be. It's a great place to live. Lots of, again, young people, lots of freshly out of college kids around. The Junior Fellows program in particular is great for having that social connection as well. We're all in the same boat, just coming out of college and then working with people who are like 30s, 40s, 50s. It's better to have that community of people who are sort of going through the same nuances as they navigate adulthood, I guess. So living in DC is great. Treasury does have a new policy on coming in 3 days a week. It's flexible. You can choose which days you would like to come in, and then you do have the option to work remotely. Those other 2 days, some people prefer to come in all 5 days. Some people prefer to come in 3, 4, you name it. But yeah, DC is a great city for really building your career.
Excellent. So that's all the questions we really had that pertain to the program. I don't know if you might have mentioned this, but do you know how many fellows you're taking for the upcoming class?
It varies year by year. Typically, I'd say around anywhere from 8 to 12 would be, it's a highly competitive program. So if you are serious about applying, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to the team at the email address on the screen. But it's very competitive. The acceptance rate's pretty low.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I don't know if you have any parting thoughts, but I know this was definitely helpful for students to hear about. I appreciate that it's early on in the season, right? In recruiting season for other government jobs.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward application process, right? No going through USA Jobs.
Yeah, I was going to say, take advantage of the fact that this is a government position that does not require a USA Jobs application. I applied to many USA Jobs and it was a black hole. I found it really frustrating. So the fact that this is just a simple email makes it a lot more easy, a lot more straightforward, and so definitely take advantage. Don't be scared away by it being competitive. I think it's, compared to some USA Jobs positions, it's much more accessible.
I want to add on to that by saying that the fellowship program was created like 5 or 6 years ago with the purpose of bringing in students from diverse backgrounds who come from all kinds of schools and who majored in all kinds of things, but who have an interest in economics and who have an interest in public policy. So even if you feel like you're not sure whether people are going to think you're a good fit, if you think you're a good fit and you think that you're going to enjoy it, like apply. That, like Morgan said, don't let the competitiveness dissuade. We're always looking for different, like, new perspectives and new ideas.
And I'll also mention that we are going to be posting the application and our job description onto Handshake They should all be up by the end of the week. We'll also be posting it onto the Treasury LinkedIn and reaching out to schools to blast the program out. So if you're here, tell your friends about the program as well. Robin will send you the information afterwards, and you can disseminate it as well.
Thank you so much, Samba. I did have 2 additional questions, just application stuff. Is there a GPA requirement? And what if you're not graduated until December 2023? So I know this is focused on May 2023 grads, but if you're graduating in December, is it possible to apply, or do you have to wait to the next cycle? So GPA and that graduation when you're off. I think a lot of students are off with gap semesters and everything because of COVID. So that's actually interesting to hear.
No GPA requirement, and then we can check, but the December application should be fine, especially given that we've had applicants and current fellows who were not graduating in May and they might have graduated like a year prior. So I think that timing is fine.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Tyler, it was great to meet you in person. And Samba, Morgan, and Tara, so appreciate your time today. I'll be sure, if that's okay, I can share this recording with those students who had class and couldn't make it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, perfect. Likewise, Robin, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much. Bye.